Miracle Morning makes big promises on changing your life, letting you sleep for half of what science says that you should, but still waking up ready to rip the world a new one and get 10x results. In reality, it's mostly harmless, empty verbiage. There are a few good ideas to take away, along with some suggestions that are actually counterproductive to writing. I am a recovering hustle bro. I was there at the beginning of Lifehacker. I eventually discovered that all of the many hours that I spent trying to hack my life just didn't have a good return on time invested. So it is not proudly that I admit that I am still a secret addict of self-help slash self-improvement books. I like reading the ones that seem like they really have something worthwhile to reveal. I also like reading the ones written by 23-year-old hustle bros with Lambos on their vision board that at least you can get for free on Kindle because they're trying to build up their life coaching business. I read way fewer of these since I no longer have a day job that just lets me read for 8 hours a day, but even still, it's hard to justify. So, because I have this addiction, I figured that someone might as well benefit from it, and I am going to go through some of the more popular self improvement books, look at them from a writer's point of view, and see if they have anything worth it in them. First on the docket is The Miracle Morning. I read this a long time ago. I actually did try to utilize it, and I recently read it again. If you're familiar with the books at all, some self improvement books are actually packed with digested research, useful information, and actionable advice. And some are a single essay blown up to 250 pages of large print. The Miracle Morning is clearly the latter. Hal Elrod seems like he is probably a nice guy, but he's ripping people off, and I can't help but believe that he knows it. The vast majority of this book is testimonials and anecdotes, fluffing the book up with the actual content of the book, the Miracle Morning routine itself, fitting into a blurb on the Amazon landing page. I do commend him for including the routine in the blurb. It's really unusual. The routine is actually quite buried in the book, and that is the usual practice to keep you from being able to find the useful information, which is only a pamphlet's worth while you're browsing the book at the bookstore. But it is right here on the Amazon page, so we're going to go through it. First, just a bit about the author and why he wrote this. He went through a very intense struggle young in life where he was in an extremely bad car accident, broke a bunch of bones, got brain damage, died for several minutes, and was brought back and then built himself kind of back up from the ground floor. And I can definitely see how that kind of experience would lead you to contemplate some things. So, what did he do with this newfound perspective? He started a life coaching program. He had a good story, and he has a lot of energy, so he was successful at it. He, however, lived on the edge of his means so that when the 2008 crash came and people were no longer making so much money and suddenly life coaching didn't seem to be such a good thing to spend thousands of dollars on, he almost lost everything. Does he blame living on the edge of his means for this when he had so much money that he clearly could have lived on half of it and put the other half away and been fine? No, of course not. Anyway, he sunk into a deep depression, and his friend advised him to take up running to improve his mood and to go running in the morning to start his day right. And although he did not want to, he decided to give it a shot, and it changed his life. He came up with the Miracle Morning. It cured his depression, and he had something new to tell his life coaching clients. I think that getting up early to get pumped up, shout at yourself in the mirror, and convince yourself that your life isn't a nightmare is honestly a really good thing if you are going through a depressive episode. You're probably going to need medication too, but it probably wouldn't hurt. But I don't think that's where we are, since we're getting out of bed to put the best hours of our day towards something that we love doing, writing. And we might have to face the workday after that, but we have done something awesome to start the day and given our efforts purpose. The rest of the day might be a slog, but we've proven to ourselves that we can put in effort and we can get results. Still, maybe there's something to be found in the life savers that we should go through. I feel like life savers is a really mixed metaphor to accompany the a miracle morning. It takes longer than a second to make the connection between the two, and it's a strange thing for a like sales and marketing guy to have come up with. I am going to go over this as a person who writes in the morning. I write in the morning. I'm a morning person. I think most people with day jobs tend to write in the morning, even if they're not morning people. And I'm going to look at these activities, these life savers, from that perspective. As in, is it worth either taking time away from your writing or getting up even earlier to do before your writing, which is your core activity? But if you write in the evening, I'm also just going to discuss if these are good things to do in general. So you will probably still find something of use here in this video. So S is for silence. Reduce stress and improve mental clarity by beginning each day with peaceful, purposeful quiet. So he gives the standard spiel for all the benefits of meditation, and that's fine. They are real. They are not the point of meditation. The point of meditation is the practice of meditation itself. Like the point and the practice are the same thing with no further goal. Because you are not supposed to be striving, you are supposed to be paying attention to the moment, which is what you do during meditation. And if you have a hope, it's that those moments come to you more naturally throughout the course of your day. Paying attention to the moment, i.e., meditating, is the point of meditation. It's great, it's life changing, it will let you in on the truth of how much energy, like CPU cycles in your brain, are wasted on repetitive negative thoughts, and how all of that negative mental noise will keep you from living your real life that's going on all around you, and how it can influence your decisions and seem like reality when you're just constructing narratives in your head. The way that these negative thoughts float away every single time, they just dissipate when you catch yourself thinking them while meditating and instead start paying attention to what's going on around you or your breathing or whatever you're meditating on. The way those thoughts just disappear. First of all, it shows you that your brain really is not capable of paying attention to two things at once, because it's every single time. Every single time you start paying attention to the world around you, those noisy thoughts disappear. And yet, when you're in the middle of those thoughts, they will make your reality for you. Self understanding and self actualization starts here with meditation. I definitely say that of the life savers, silence is a good one. If you're doing the official hour-long Miracle Morning, the division here would be 10 minutes of meditation. I've heard recently that some scientists have said that 12 minutes is like where you get the benefit of meditating, so maybe add a couple extra minutes on there. I usually aim for 20 myself, with occasional extra sometimes sprinkled through the day. So the first S, silence, is something that you might want to do, and you might even want to do it before you write, if that's the only quiet time you can find. Personally, for me, I have a hard time meditating immediately upon waking, and this would be like the first thing you do other than drink a glass of water, because my brain is still dreamy and it makes it float away endlessly. And that can be good for meditation, practicing wrangling your brain back, like practicing focusing on what's around you, catching yourself slipping is that's the practice. You haven't failed the practice because you catch yourself slipping. Like you catch yourself slipping, and that's the practice. That's what's going to lead you to being more aware more often. So that's up to you. You also could wait until after you write and just sit at your computer. A is for affirmations. Reprogram your mind to overcome any fears or beliefs that are limiting your potential or causing you to suffer. So affirmations is basically bullshit. It might do some good, but if you're giving meditation a fair shake, then that will do infinitely more to overcome any fears or untrue beliefs than affirmations will. Like through the practice of meditation, you will see the way that emotion clouds your reason. You will be able to detach yourself from these narratives, saying it's not who you are, it's just a passing cloud of emotion. And it will Instead of trying to trick yourself, you just will get better at seeing negative thoughts. It's just a way more direct way to achieve the same thing. And yet, Hal quotes Florence Scovel Shinn saying, "You will be a failure until you impress the subconscious with the conviction that you are a success. This is done by making an affirmation which clicks." How much did you write that morning? How much did you challenge yourself? How does it compare to what you wrote last year? See, the lucky thing for us is that we don't have to trick our subconsciouses into thinking that we're successful through affirmations. We can see the proof. Did you try hard? Are you getting better? This is advice from middlemen who produce nothing. We are the makers. So take that time and write, and you can show your stupid self-conscious that you're a success. You can prove it. On to V, which is for visualization. Experience the power of mentally rehearsing yourself showing up at your best each day. So this piece of advice is not only not effective, it has actually been shown in recent studies to be completely counterproductive to what it's trying to achieve. It was just basically assumed that visualization works the same way for every situation, for every sort of person, like it does for athletes and performers. And it does not. The neurological pathways an athlete carves through their brain while practicing, they can continue to deepen those through visualizing doing the same activities. But first, they need to have actually done the thing, to have the right pathways to follow and more deeply entrench in their brains. For example, an MMA fighter watching film is probably mentally practicing. They can't help it. They are watching and they're seeing what they would do, how they would respond. A fan spouting, if I was in there, I woulda. Well, what they woulda actually done is gotten their asses kicked, because if they've never actually fought, they don't have the right grooves in the brain, the right neural pathways to strengthen by thinking. They're making things up. What precise neurological pathways are you deepening as a hustle bro, imagining driving yourself around in a Lamborghini and living in a mansion? Like, what are the distinct mechanical actions that you're making more efficient? Like, how do you visualize getting a big promotion and improve your chances of that? People are driven by dopamine. Dopamine works on anticipation. So we can deprive ourselves of something that feels good right now in the anticipation of success because of dopamine. But we love taking the easy route. We love conserving energy. It's an evolutionary trait. We're lazy because it helped us survive. So what studies have found is that if we can take the easy route, getting our dopamine drip by imagining being successful, then we will do that, and then we will put less energy into actually being successful. So visualization is a bust. The writers must have realized this in time for the Miracle Morning for Writers, where they changed the definition of visualization into something so completely odd that I'm excited to get to covering that book later on. Look out for another video. So E is for exercise. Boost your mental and physical energy in as little as 60 seconds. I do a small bit of exercise before I write. I do a little stretching routine before I put myself in the desk. I used to be a pretty serious lifter. I still lift, but I have had to adjust due to aches and pains. And stretching is the way that I can survive sitting still for hours at a time, forgetting to move anything besides my fingers and maybe blinking my eyes occasionally. But some of my most productive times as a writer were waking up and writing in bed in the dark, where it seemed like my almost still dreaming mind would just create this stuff effortlessly. For most mental activities, it's a good idea to get your blood pumping first. I'll fully admit this. Fiction writing is kind of a weird one. In general, definitely if you're doing an activity as sedentary as writing, you do need to be incorporating exercise, not only into your life, but into your like daily routine, like trying to get up and move around every hour. I go on lots of little walks. If I don't feel like going outside, I'll hop on the treadmill for literally 10 minutes, do some push-ups. When you are concentrating as hard as you have to write. And if you slip into a flow state, it's very easy for hours to go past without you having like moved almost a single muscle. So I definitely say exercise is a good one. R is for reading. Acquire knowledge and expand your abilities by learning from experts. I'm going to surprise you here as the guy who says that reading is one of the three things that will lead you to success as a writer, and tell you that I don't think that you should read before you write. I push the need for writers to read constantly, but before you sit down to write in the morning, the only writing that should be in your head is your own. Think of the scene you're going to write and let it simmer in your sleepy brain. But he talks about how 10 minutes a day could add up to 12 books a year. You need to be doing a lot more reading than that. And I would recommend reading Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport if you need help finding the time to do that. So R is a good one, but unless you write at night, not before you do your writing. S is for scribing. Keep a journal to deepen gratitude, gain insights, track progress, and increase your productivity by getting clear on your top priorities. Yeah, so it is definitely important for a writer to write. I preach this all the time. I don't think that before you do your real writing is the time for journaling. You need to be putting your freshest words towards your fiction. If you've got a paragraph of gratitude to write, sure, that's probably fine. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that, but don't go writing pages and pages before getting to the writing that is actually going to turn you into a good writer. The return on investment per word is going to be so much higher in actually writing the fiction to become a good fiction writer. Okay, so what are we left with? We're left with nothing that needs to go before you're writing, like first thing in the morning, and a few things that you definitely need to not do. Reading, writing, meditating, and exercising are all pretty essential for the writing lifestyle. So, what acronym am I proposing? Life Cicerero. Wake up early to scribe with your freshest energy. End with silent meditation. Don't even step away from the computer. No one will bother you if they think that you're still writing, at least if you're mean enough about it. There's no reason for you to take up the lotus position. Just sit and continue to sit in your desk chair. And a benefit of doing it right there is that if you like to do guided meditations, you're right there at the computer to listen to them. Read on your way to work, listen to books on your commute, exercise at some point. If you can get away with walking off cramps at work so that you can get paid for it, all the better. If you go on longer walks, you can get some reading in. Read on the way home, again on the way home, maybe read in the evening before bed. Live your life. Stop worrying about squeezing ultimate productivity out of every second of the day. Enjoy time with your family. Play a video game with your kids. Watch a movie. Stay the hell off of social media. If you need it to be productive, keep in mind that in the big picture, living a interesting, good life is the way to develop yourself as a person and to have things to say in your fiction. I don't know that Life's Sorrel will be a big hit, which is too bad. Okay, so what does the rest of the book offer? It's at least 50% testimonials from people about how the Miracle Morning just changed their lives, turned them completely around, 10x'd them. That is one of my most hated phrases. 10% of the book is trying to get you to sign up for a newsletter so that you can continue to be sold to. There are some bits, though, that I would like to discuss. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. The degree to which you accept responsibility for everything in your life is precisely the degree of personal power you have to change or create anything in your life. Is everything that happens in your life your fault? No, of course not. Most of what has happened in your life, you didn't really have control over. I mean, just down to the fact that most of what happened into your life is due to when and where you were born. But constantly mulling over things that you don't have control over instead of the things that you do will greatly reduce your chances to be a success. When your brain believes that there is nothing that it can do to relieve the pain and to get ahead in order to conserve energy, it stops trying. You have to believe that you can change your life in order to wake up and put forth the effort that you need to accomplish big things with your life. And succeeding as a writer is a very big thing. It's a very big, difficult thing. Writing takes so many moments of faith in your own ability to produce and to make things better, because it takes so long to see the effort result in a book. And then it takes so much longer to actually see those efforts rewarded externally. You can argue with me that you can't change things, that none of it is your fault. And I don't know, I can't exactly say that you're not right. I don't know. I am an encouragement bully, and I end up with people telling me why I'm wrong about their ability to succeed constantly. But the thing that I think that you just have to remember is that whatever bad happened and however little of it is your fault, this is your one life. This is your one chance. It's not going to be better the next time around. You're not going to be born again into a better set of circumstances. And letting your brain cycle constantly over the bad things that have happened to you is only hurting you. So while I think that the quote can sound insensitive, I think that you have to look at it and look at yourself and decide how you're going to take it. One thing that Hal says is a way to take difficulties is, even when life is difficult or challenging, especially when life is difficult and challenging, the present is always an opportunity for us to learn, grow, and become better than we've ever been before. An example of this that I discussed earlier is in meditating. When you're meditating, it feels like a failure when you catch yourself daydreaming for several minutes. It's like, I just wasted a couple of minutes of meditating, but it's not a failure. Catching your mind wandering is the only way to train it to be more present in the moment. If your mind is never wandering, I mean, I don't think it can be called meditating anymore. I think you've just reached an enlightened state of permanent presence, which a lot of people argue is not actually possible. Anyway, for us, mere mortal humans, the more difficult the meditation session seems, the more you get out of it. If someone has been lucky at everything, they have never been tested. When you achieve success after a long struggle and you've been tested, then you are in a much better place than that person who was lucky. And that's the life part of write, read, and live. Your trials will help you write good fiction. It's living. Your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. There maybe is something a bit true here. Success and personal development are certainly related, though I definitely don't think that success requires personal development. Many people are born wealthy and connected and are perfectly horrible human beings who remain wealthy and connected and horrible their entire lives. Money is a stand-in for personal development, and money is most of society's measure of success. So maybe I should be looking at it a different way. But in that case, it's kind of a tautological A equals A argument otherwise, because self-development then equals success. So of course you can't have success without personal development. Anyway, no need to get too deep in the weeds on that one. I do think that if you've worked on yourself, you're more likely to be a success if you weren't born on third base. But really what I want to talk about here is that I find one of my least favorite words, attract. And Hal starts going off after this quote on how he wants level 10 success. Here's the thing. Most people don't make anything. They insert themselves somewhere between the people who make things, like us, and the customers who pay for things. And they shift things around and they don't see the impact of what they do. When you think of how many people figure out how to insert themselves to take a little bit of the value of what you make, it can be frustrating. But understand that not being able to see the value of what you do leads to depression. Studies show this. It leads to a feeling of helplessness. It's not a good place to be. You may very well have had a middleman job, and you know this. So these people wait for their yearly review to be told how they did. Day in and day out, they get no feedback. And so what this does is thinking about attracting success and, and how it can 10x results is a way to feel like they are in control. You don't have to, as a writer, attract success. You make the thing that will make you successful. You're not sitting around waiting for someone to tell you how you did. You're not waiting for someone to acknowledge you before you can do what you want to do. You can do what you want to do on a daily basis, and you can see if you are progressing. Focus on that. Let the middlemen perform their silly, elaborate rituals to give themselves some illusion of control, but that's not for us. How you do anything is how you do everything. Every time you choose to do the easy thing instead of the right thing, you are shaping your identity, becoming the type of person who does what's easy rather than what's right. So this is put forward as the reason that you need to make your bed sometimes. This is some more bullshit people who don't make anything tell themselves. If they make their bed, they're going to be more successful. If they do their breakfast dishes, they're going to be the sort of person who becomes successful, who attracts success. You have limited time and energy, and you have something to do that will actually make you successful and requires a lot of strenuous thought. Writing. It's exhausting. Do not give everything in your life equal time and attention and energy. How you do any given one thing that doesn't matter is absolutely not how you do everything. Do not give your best hours to cleaning your house. Do not give them to your day job. Do not try to do everything perfectly. Wake up and write, and you'll know that you have the discipline to become a better writer. I really hope that if you go into the bedroom and found that you've forgotten to make the bed, it doesn't shake your resolve in that. This stuff gets me really worked up. I think that that's half why I enjoy hate reading this sort of stuff, but we should move on. There are some useful little bits of advice, tricks. I don't know that they're worth going to a ton of trouble to implement in your life, but I do think that they're interesting ideas that are worth knowing about. One trick that Hal uses to make his journaling more useful that I really like is that he does a review of his journal where he reads it and on a piece of paper he writes down lessons learned and new commitments. Once you get some distance and perspective from the things that happened in your life by reviewing them, I do think that you could probably pull some good stuff from it, maybe even some actionable points. And I think as far as journaling goes, that definitely writing will give you clarity. But that for me also counts for fiction writing. I know that when I start a story, I don't usually know what I'm trying to say. Like when I'm writing a screenplay and you're supposed to have the thesis and the antithesis and then the synthesis, I put something down, but a lot of times it kind of turns out to be nonsense because I don't go into it saying, this is what I want to say. Some people can do that and it can work for them. Um, but what I find is that when I write fiction, that I'm detached from it, right? Because it's not about me, except that it's always about me. And so I end up, because the ego goes away trying to defend myself or things like that, um, that I can really learn what I think through my fiction writing. So another concept that Hal, I think, puts into useful terms is he says that he created the term gap focus. People tend to be gap focused, where we are constantly looking at where we want to be instead of where we are. We're always looking at the negative space in between, and we are too rarely looking at the distance that we've already covered and congratulating ourselves and being grateful. And I think that this is even more dramatic than what he states, because that gap would likely be closing, but we're always moving the goalposts on ourselves, because the better we get, the better we want to be, right? I mean, that's great. That's that drive to improve is what is going to make you a successful writer. It's what's going to make your writing good and worthwhile. But being constantly focused on that being never happy with the striving, first of all, it can burn you out because your mind will eventually stop giving you the energy that you need to push forward if it feels like it's not doing you any good. And also, it's just important to have the perspective both towards yourself and to have grace towards yourself. And it's important to feel gratitude for where you are, also because of all the other people around you who are helping to make it possible for you to progress. Because I know that for me, it it certainly isn't just me. I'm proud of how I've stuck with writing, but if it weren't for the people around me, it wouldn't have happened. I think that you could combine this trying to shake off the gap focus with your journaling and review practice, because when you're reviewing your journal, that's when it's going to be really clear, how far you've come. Also, when you're reviewing your fiction, I just dug up some ancient files that I didn't even know I had, and it really shows how your work has paid off. And so this seems like it could be useful to take up. Anyway, those are the points. On the whole, I think that anything that you're going to get out of The Miracle Morning, you probably would get out of this review. I don't think that you need to read it. It's mostly about how middlemen give themselves enough purpose to like wake up and face their hellish, days ahead of them, which, yeah, I mean, I can see why you would need something to get yourself up and get pumped up about. But you wake up to write. You wake up to make something. You wake up to create the proof of your advancement. So yeah, wake up and write, read, and live. I'm Jay Allen Riker. Ignore the hustle bros and keep writing.